I'm not sure I agree with the assessment that he was dragged into politics. I think Prince Charles always had one toe, if not a complete foot, slightly in politics anyway, didn't he?
Oh, well, unquestionably, unofficially, I rather agree with you, because if we look over the years, if you look at the environment and his campaign since 1969, if you look, for example, on one occasion when asked about meddling in politics, he quoted his trust and the fact that disadvantaged young, in a sense, they're part of society, and therefore that, you could argue, is politics. Party politics he must avoid. But you're quite right, if you go back to 1999 and 2015, he supposedly boycotted during Chinese leaders' state visits to Britain banquets at Buckingham Palace. Famously, he described the Chinese leaders in hanging the handover of Hong Kong as appalling old waxworks. I mean, recently, the rumour, which has certainly not been strongly denied, that he thought the government's policy of sending asylum seekers to Rwanda was appalling, that seems to be his point of view. And what is very interesting about this is the fact that, according to number 10, and I'm surprised this hasn't been highlighted more, the issue whether or not King Charles meet Ursula von der Leyen was, I quote, fundamentally one for the palace. Then the palace has said that, of course, when visiting head of state, world leader visits Britain, on the advice of ministers, which is the government advice, that's what he acts on. So that is naturally what he did. But all this, of course, is part and parcel of a huge amount of spin. And I think we can see that pretty clearly, that the dark arts are also part of the Windsor Framework. What a wonderfully English term, is it not?
We've got a poll running this morning, Richard, at GBNews, asking the public whether the King should stay silent about politics, and currently 86% of our viewers say yes. Now, you could argue that this is because we are still mourning the loss of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, and perhaps we are in a transitional period. Maybe a more modern monarch, a more modernised royal family will inevitably be a little bit more political, and it's something we just have to get used to.
Oh, definitely, we must not get used to anything of the kind, because the monarchy embodies constitutional stability and also, of course, national unity. You don't want some superannuated party hack as a president. One of the cases for monarchy is that the accident of birth is, in fact, an advantage, because you know who's going to be the next head of state. And what we don't want is allowing King Charles, and remember COP27, he was advised by Liz Truss and then by Rishi Sunak not to attend. He may have wanted privately to attend. He didn't. That is the line basically he should take. And so far as his accession speech is concerned, he made it absolutely clear that he could see once he created his own role as Prince of Wales, and that did involve controversies such as the so-called Black Spider memos that he sent to ministers. This is a totally new role, and one of the important aspects, I think, of being monarch, it's not the power you have, it's the power you deny to others. It's being impartial, it's being above party issues, and it's that makes you the focal point of loyalty. And I think that is what the readers and listeners are responding to.
I also think there is a sense, Richard, that there are sort of more global influences at play that may not have the best interests of domestic people, of the nation, of the citizens of this country, and that when, at the moment, whilst people are concerned about the future, whilst we're struggling with cost of living, while we're not sure what's happening with the minutiae of our lives often, and when we see King Charles shaking hands with the President of the EU, it just plays into this idea that there are World Economic Forum forces, that actually we are below the global elite and they do not have our best interests at heart. And maybe Prince Charles should have been a little bit sensitive to that yesterday.
Well, I think that it was a goodwill meeting, and I think, and we've seen the Prime Minister and how chipper he is at the moment, whether that will last and to what extent we'll see that in the coming weeks and months is quite another issue. But so far as King Charles is concerned, I I think that he will handle things well with his coronation coming up. And also, one must mention, there have been so many problems that the royal family has faced with this extremely unfortunate rift with the Sussexes, and also issues dealing with Prince Andrew. So it's been a very, very difficult time. Since last December until mid-January, with the break for Christmas, his Christmas message, I mean, from that Netflix docuseries to that terrible Spare memoir, which has cost Harry so much support in the United States, very, very interesting, this, and also those television interviews, I think it's been an extremely difficult time for the royal family. They've had to remain very, very quiet while their private life and so many issues dealing with it has been made so public. And so far as the public face of the monarchy is concerned, I think that must be impartial, and it must be strictly impartial. It must be above party politics, but equally there is this unifying factor which I think makes the institution so valuable. It was so easy at the time of the coup because, of course, she grew up in a different era.